It's time to dad.
And welcome back to the Time to Dad podcast. I'm here with Nick, Joe, Brian, and myself, Luke. And this episode, we're going to discuss a little bit about morning routines, daily schedules, making time for the better half, and of course, those vices that we all seem to share in every now and then. I don't know about you guys. Do you guys have much of a morning routine, or do you kind of just get up, shower, breakfast, head off to work?
I like to think I have a routine, but it rarely goes as planned with a toddler.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get up, I usually get him up, get him situated, munching on a muffin or something, and then I'll go grab whatever I'm wearing for the day and iron it and stuff. But depending on his mood, it either goes that way or it goes wildly different.
And do you get up before him at the same time as him?
It depends. I mean, some days he'll still be asleep when we go in there to get him up, and other days he'll already be up talking through the Nest Cam at us, screaming about crazy stuff in his room. So
I definitely find I got to get up. I get up probably 2 hours before my kids, just to have some peace and quiets, and then get a workout in, read a book, quiet time.
The whole book.
Wake them up.
The entire book. Speed read.
I will admit I find morning routines a bit of a challenge for myself. I'm kind of one of those people. Sometimes I'm really good about them. When I'm good about them, it's get up at 6 o'clock every morning, hit the gym, have a big glass of water. As Luke was saying, either I go for a podcast or a book, just some positive input for the day. And I really try to stick to that routine as much as I can, because if I start my day in a structured way, I feel way better. But the hard part is being consistent about that. It's great to have that morning routine, but what's even a bigger struggle is being consistent about the morning routine.
See, I have a theory about that. If you can have enough discipline to make yourself do it for long enough, it becomes a habit. And then there's no discipline required, no willpower, and it's just automatic. I get up now, there's no thought process required.
You set an alarm still? Or is even that kind of like automated?
I set an alarm, but I'll normally wake up just before it or around it. Or if I go to bed later than normal and I set my alarm for an hour later, I still wake up at around about the same time. So it's just becomes sort of my body clock now. And if I miss it for whatever reason, or I don't get the workout in, man, I just feel unsettled.
Throws the whole day off.
Yeah. Got to play catch up. But you still have a good day, but it's, I love having that 2 hours in the morning of me time is gold for me.
It's important.
So like, yeah, even like weekends and stuff, you're still pretty
even weekends.
Nice.
I might get up an hour late on weekends, but for the most part the same. Just because I like having the consistency of it. Because like Brian said, if you skip it and you break it, then you got to get back into it. So that's just how I live now.
Yeah,
that's my problem.
One of my favorite sayings growing up was Alonzo Mourning. You know, he was a basketball player, and he was talking. They were going out working out, and he always said it's easier to stay in shape than it is to get back into shape. And that like always stuck with me. Now, unfortunately, we fell out of shape, so now we're at the harder part of getting back into shape. Right? We didn't follow that in that essence, but I think it's true for almost anything. It's like you were just saying, because once you fall out of the routine, it's so hard to get back into it. And I think that's like the biggest thing. And I know, coming from a business perspective, it's always been, okay, well, if you don't have that routine, you're not going to be as productive. Or if you don't have that schedule, you're not going to be as productive. I think it's something that's interesting because that you said, after a certain amount of times, it becomes a habit. And I feel like that's like something that has been so open. Like some people say, 17 days. Some people say it's 21. Some people say it's 80. Have any of you guys had an experience with like what you found, like maybe either worked for you or somebody else, or what you've just maybe read from all the books?
I think it's how much it means to you. So if it's something you want, you're going to start doing it right away, and it's going to just become a habit pretty quickly, probably in a couple of weeks. If it's something that you have to work on, like you said, like building the discipline to keep doing it, I reckon you're looking closer to 2 months, maybe even 3. Like I said, I started getting up really early for, I think it was about 3 or 4 months before it became normal. The first month was like, well, this sucks. Just sort of pushed through. And now I feel like I've lost half my day if I oversleep. I love getting up early now. And I used to run nightclubs, so I used to go to bed at like 7 in the morning. So,
Yeah,
Wow.
that's my problem. I'm a bit of a night owl, and I just like the quiet in the house when everyone's gone to bed or whatever. And I'll get on track with like, oh, I'm gonna be in bed by 10 or 10:30, and I'll nail it pretty consistently for 3 or 4 days. Then I'll fall off the routine wagon and go back to staying up a little later. And I'm like, just 1 more hour. I'll watch 1 more episode or whatever, and I'll get there eventually. Because
Have you guys found that? Have you found that having that routine and structure in your mornings or at whatever time of day it is has made a difference in your life?
100%.
Definitely.
I tell you now, I came, and this is not meant to be a braggadocious story, but it's going to be. I went to South Africa in 2019, 2020, and I love South African food and drinks. And I went there with every intention of being totally gluttonous and having all my favorite stuff. And I put on like 17 or 18 pounds in about 2.5 weeks. I came back
2.5 weeks right there.
I came back weighing 267 pounds. And I was like, cool, I'm going to lose this. This is not cool. I don't want to weigh 267 pounds. And I started doing the morning routines. And then COVID hit. I ended up writing, so I want to write a couple of books I want to write just because I'm an avid reader. I ended up writing like 50,000 words of a fantasy novel, 40,000 words of a self-help book. I ran 1,000 miles. Our business doubled. Like, I can't explain to you the level of productivity that went up when I started doing a morning routine was insane. By 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, I'd done like a half day's work already of stuff that I loved, so it wasn't work. And I just felt so energized, and then that just flowed through into my actual work. And it was, totally.
I got to ask, Luke, with you just said, right, business doubled, right? You ran 1,000 miles, wrote a bunch of books. What is South African food? Because I am a foodie and I want to know what that good stuff was.
The meat, quality of the meat is amazing. And then we have like biltong, which is kind of like Americans have jerky.
But
ours it's a different process of making it. So ours is a lot drier. It's not sweet.
Okay.
And then stuff that's called droevos. I'm not Afrikaans, but it's droevos, which is basically dried sausage is the direct translation. And then my Windhoek Lager is a local beer. Just all the stuff, all the little treats,
that you don't get back here in the States.
When you live in your home country, you don't think about that stuff. But when you leave, you're like, oh, man, craving whatever it is,
Yeah.
So
it's great.
So you get up at the butt crack of what, like 7, you said, or even earlier?
4, right?
Yeah, I get it 4.
Oh shit! So what time are you knocking yourself out at the end of the day then?
I go to bed around 9.
Yeah.
So I'll get into bed around 8:39, read for half an hour, and then go to sleep.
So that leads me into a big question that I have, because this is a kind of a struggle in our household. Do you find that affects time with your wife at all? I know for myself, like if I want to get up early, I'm like you, I want to go to bed by 9 o'clock if I'm up at 6 o'clock in the morning. But my wife is a night owl who she wants me to stay up because the kids have just kind of gone to bed. And now she wants me to spend that time from 9 to 10 to 11 with her. But I'm tired.
So we had a lot of back and forth. My wife she's like the epitome of ADD and pushes back on schedules and routines a lot. But every time she does it, she feels so much better. I think she's finally sort of won her over to the dark side of early mornings. So it's not too bad. We're living on pretty much a similar schedule. I think she gets her up around 5. But it's not so bad. And if we do a date night, then obviously I'm going to sleep in the next day because date nights are important.
Sure. I think that's always tough. You know, it was kind of what we were talking about on our last episode. The work-life balance comes back to making time for the wife. It almost kind of goes with that, or making time for the kids. But making time for the wife is important. Right? Important. Yes, So, but I think if you have a good routine and you have a good schedule, you'll find that you do have the time. It's just that you have to have sometimes it written down. And, I know I had one of my oldest brothers, I remember telling when I was kind of making some transitions and changes. And he said, even schedule your time with your wife. And whether it's a walk in the middle of the day and where you put your phone away and you just have that scheduled where there's no distraction. So even if it's 1 hour a day, it's quality, which is better than 3 hours of you on your phone with them in the same room. And I think that's like so important. Now, do we do that all the time? No, right? We try to get better and need to be able to do that. But if I could say when it is working, that's a big important step.
It was big, man. When we didn't have it, it definitely caused interesting experiences in our marriage and sort of put the for better or for worse vows to test. That now we have a weekly time blocked off every week to go for lunch or do whatever, just spend time kid-free together. Have to.
Yeah, I was going to say, I brought up, we were kind of in the similar situation. So my wife in her photography business, she's up all hours of the night editing, getting weddings done. I'm going to bed because I'm trying to, when I go to bed earlier, I feel a million times better the next day. So I'm trying to get to bed early. And so we're kind of like strangers passing in the night. And you get into those little tips of, you don't make time for me and everything that goes with that. And I brought up the scheduling and it was not well received. She was kind of like, you shouldn't have to schedule time with your wife. And I was like, well, our schedules make it so we do. Eventually it can become a habit forming thing, is the way I perceived it. Eventually you won't have to schedule. You won't have to say this night's date night or this night's XYZ or this night's just time for us. And so
this is the thing. If you guys have like a favorite show that you watch every week, that becomes a schedule that you sit down to watch a show.
Yeah.
So if you're willing to do that for a show, why would you do it for your marriage?
That's exactly like our household over here. Especially that's what tonight is. At 9:00, Survivor comes on, and that's our half an hour, 45 minutes of however long Survivor runs for.
What season are you
on? What are they on? 44 now?
Wow.
40?
I didn't even know that was still a show.
Me neither.
I thought it was Tuesday. Yeah, it's Wednesday.
But yeah, that every Wednesday night at 9:00, we make that commitment that no matter what else, the kids are in bed, the house is clean, everything is done because 9:00 is Survivor time.
It's almost Survivor time.
We find that, and I definitely kind of call that. That's my making time for her. That's a scheduled time of, okay, I might want to go to bed at 9:00 because that's me, but I will definitely stay up and watch Survivor, and we spend that quality time together making that happen.
That's awesome. Now, every time I watch Survivor, I'm going to think of you. Thanks.
Picture Brian right there beside him.
I really had no idea that was still on. That's 44 episodes. That's 40 seasons. Yeah, it's 44 seasons. That's impressive.
That's too many.
It's pretty ridiculous. I'm not going to lie. Like, there's thousands of people out there that love it, just like myself, but it's getting pretty ridiculous.
I think it's time you get on the show yourself if you're watching.
Yeah.
That's it. Come on, get that routine. Get up 4 a.m. with Luke. Start working out. You're ready.
Yeah, eat some of that African food.
Yeah, that's it.
If
I was LBs, man, you'll be good to go.
If I was eligible to get on Survivor, that would be a dream come true. But unfortunately, I'm not American, and so that rules me out, unfortunately.
You live in the top hat of America. How would they not let you?
'Cause you gotta-
Well, you know what? You guys down there got your own special rules for your darn game shows that us Canadians don't get
Well,
to join in
Mr.
on.
Entrepreneur, why don't you start your own Canadian Survivor?
That's it.
That's where it's at, man.
Because I don't think we have anywhere that would quite work for unless you want to send someone up to the Arctic and freeze them to death.
That
Well-
sounds like surviving. I mean,
Warm clothing has come a long way.
I think living in Canada is an episode of Survivor.
Oh, that's Australia. Have you seen the bugs in Australia? The spiders they have?
Oh, man.
Freaking
Yeah.
scary.
yeah,
People,
People.
it is scary, but then you can get hugged by a koala bear right after, and everything. feels
Yeah,
better.
I think. Oh no, it's panda bears that are like really mean, isn't it? I was thinking koala when you said that, but I think it's pandas that are like super aggressive.
Are they?
Are
I know kangaroos.
Yeah.
are pretty good.
Oh shit, you're gonna make me Google it.
I don't know.
Panda.
I didn't know pandas
Are
actually
these-
like moved. I thought they just sat there and like ate their bamboo.
No, I think they can get
Are these-
pretty.
and I was going
Are these the kind of rabbit
Australians,
trails that you guys?
I just had to throw the little snide remark in there because they're biggest sports competition. So
Well, this doesn't
Okay.
help. It says no, pandas are naturally not aggressive animals. However, when threatened, pandas are known to display aggressive and violent behavior by attacking their intruders.
Sounds like my
Oh,
wife.
That's like every friggin' animal.
Are these the kind of rabbit trails you guys get going down when you're spending time with your wife?
That's
Talking about
it.
panda bears? No, we just show each other ridiculous TikTok and get stupid songs stuck in each other's heads all night.
Hey, quality time is quality time.
Our problem
Well-
is there's very few shows we like agree on. She likes some stuff that are out there. So the one that we like to try and watch together right now is Mandalorian.
Okay.
That's kind of our go-to show. But then, like I said, with the schedules, you can't really say, okay, every night this show is released, we're going to watch it, because it just all depends on her workload and what kind of editing she has to get done.
Mhm.
have you watched Rings of Power?
I have not watched that.
Are you into fantasy or not so much?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we like
Yeah.
a little bit of everything. So
Good. So was the House of the Dragon was pretty decent too.
I started
Well-
watching that. For some reason, I just couldn't get into it.
Yeah, see, I wasn't a big fan of House of Dragon compared to the Game of
Yeah,
obviously.
I think Game of Thrones ruined every like medieval place
Yeah, it
type
was too
movie for
good.
me.
The Rings.
Would
one-
you guys say? Do you ever find that you spend too much time watching TV? That you could call it a bit of a vice?
We don't watch much TV at all. Survivor is about
Yeah.
it.
You got it
And then-
together over there.
Yeah?
Now we're not
Making me
huge
feel
TV people. We kind of put it on like at the end of the night to like fall asleep to it, and it might take us like a month to get through like a 5-episode documentary. It's not like something that is like for us anyway. Like that's not like what we're doing when we're spending time.
Yeah.
It's more like, all right, you want to throw this on, and then like 8 minutes later we're passing out type thing. And it's like, all right, where were we last night? What did we catch up to? Like what, I don't know, rewind it, we'll start it over. There's not too many shows that keep us like, I guess, enthralled like that. Maybe Game of Thrones did.
Game of Thrones for sure.
Yeah, that was that. But we didn't watch that until the last season. I remember like people on Facebook. I'm like, guys, I can't go on like Facebook or anything
Yeah.
because people were like ruining it. I was like, I never even heard of this show until like the last like third like last episode. I was like, what is this Game of Thrones thing?
Yeah, we held out. We were the same. We held out for a long time, and then it was like everybody in the friggin' office was watching it. So I was like, all right, shit, we're gonna watch it.
Yeah.
So we binged the hell out of it to get caught up.
Yeah.
But then it was
It
like,
does astounds me how TV can almost take over some people's lives. Like there are people who will literally, and I guess I might be as bad for it when it comes to Survivor, but they'll literally sit for hours and binge watch an entire series, just episode after episode, and they'll waste an entire day just watching
Like,
TV.
We've all done that though, at some point.
when the
Oh, yeah.
Walking Dead came out, we would like schedule get-togethers with our friends to have them over and get pizza and drinks and stuff and watch it. Like we We were pretty
you-
religious about that show until it started getting like terrible.
So was
And the
that
spin-offs
pre-dad
came.
or was that when you were a dad?
What was that?
Was
Oh, a
that
little of
pre
both.
being a dad?
Yeah, a little of both because
Okay.
my stepdaughter was still she had just moved in with us at that point when we started watching Walking Dead.
I think I'm like it's season 8 of that, but my wife hasn't watched it, so you kind of don't end up watching it because I don't want to watch it all again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
I don't know how it ends.
Although my wife started watching, I think it was Game of Thrones. She just started watching again for the second time, and I was like, all right. But you catch some like interesting stuff when you do that with shows after you watch it, and you don't watch it for months and months, and then you put it back on. You just gotta
Yeah,
give yourself enough time to kind of forget
You know
some of
what
the
series
details.
I've got one series that I can binge watch for probably days upon days that I'm pretty religious about. I don't know how do you guys feel about any of the Law and Orders. Like I'll sit and watch Law and Order SVU or Law and Order Organized Crime for hours if I can.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't,
thankfully I don't get stuck watching the TV like that. I mean, would I love to? Yes. But yeah, it just doesn't happen. Doesn't happen anymore like that.
I think we're glued to our phones more often than we are the,
Well, you
the
mentioned
television.
TikTok, right? I think, right,
Yeah.
Brian, you used the word vices before, right? I think TikTok has became that. I talk to people at work all the time when using social media as like ways of advertising and things like that, and it's became the new commercials. A lot of people at the end of the night, they're sitting on their phone, they're going on their Facebook or Instagram or TikTok for an hour, as opposed to turning the TV on.
Right.
And so like that has replaced a lot of it. So it is a good way for like advertising for businesses. Obviously, we all know that. But I think that has become a vice, and I think because it's so easily accessible, I think that has become a big addiction for people, even when they don't think it is. All right, there's that way that you can check your screen time.
Charged.
Yeah. There's like the way you can check your screen time, and I've never checked my screen time, but I bet you it's a lot more than I think.
It's scary.
It is. I
You
forget the
can send
name of. There's a documentary. I think it was on Netflix, but it's all about like the Facebook, the TikTok algorithms, how
The social
they.
dilemma?
Yes.
Yep.
Freaking. That was like mind blowing to watch, and it makes total sense. And everybody's thinking it like. This Facebook is obviously not just there for your entertainment, right? And that documentary, I was just like, holy crap! Like everything makes sense. Like we talk about it at work all the time. We'll talk about some particular product we're going to use, and next thing I know, all of a sudden I've got 6 million ads on Facebook for that particular product, and you're just like, or I'll look up the product on my work computer, right? Like not tied to my Facebook. I won't. It's not like we were talking about it out loud, and I'm not logged into any social media, any personal accounts there, but it'll still show up in my Facebook, and those are the creepy ass ads.
Yeah.
Because you're sitting there. No, I didn't say, I didn't mention this toilet out loud. I searched it on a device that's not tied to me other than through my company, and I'm getting Facebook ads on my Facebook for it.
Yeah.
I don't
And
know
that's-
what that's or if you had spoken about it and then it's showing up.
Yeah, I don't know, but that shit kind of weirds me out. But I mean, everyone's well aware that that kind of thing goes on with Facebook, and I know TikTok's been pretty controversial recently as far as what they use the data they get from that app for. I don't even use TikTok. When I say I watch TikTok stuff, it's like the TikToks that have been turned into Facebook Reels. But it's creepy what social media can do, and it's totally designed to keep you there scrolling. And I've read some pretty interesting articles about how that scrolling causes major anxiety in people because you're subconsciously your body's saying like, oh, what's the next video going to be? What's the next reel going to be?
Yeah.
It's funny. I'll actually try to find it. My brother sent me a link of an article. It's the largest study they've done. There's like 27,000 people. It shows the younger you are when you get a smartphone, the higher the likelihood of depression, anxiety, low self-esteem,
I told you.
Yeah.
especially among girls.
Yeah, we talked about that. Was that episode 1? I think I brought that up where I mentioned it, we were talking about helicopter parents, and I mentioned how at all costs my wife and I were just hell bent on keeping our daughter off social media, off all those social Instagram, Facebook, none of that. Just for that exact reason. It is scary how manipulative that environment can be of younger people.
I think that's like my biggest fear of being a parent in this world is the social media. You know, you see stuff all the time, and you know, kids getting bullied, this, that, and I saw something the other day. It was right on Facebook, probably on my 8th hour of screen time. That I think was only an hour for the day, but it was forget exactly what it said, but it was something like, you know, when we got embarrassed as a kid, you know, in elementary school, you know, kids would laugh about it. It would spread around the rumors around the hallway. And then the next day some kids would be talking about it. And then the next week there was something new and they moved on. They forgot about it. But today that kid trips and gets embarrassed or, you know, gets flagged, right? I remember getting flagged like in elementary school and things like that. There was 18 people that took pictures of it, sent it around. It went to the school. Then it went to their cousin's school and this school. Now it's on the internet and now it's posted and they can never get away from it.
Yeah, it lives forever, man.
It lives forever now. And we didn't have that. And I think that's crazy. Thanks.
Oh, it's terrifying.
They're
actually saying now that, especially in younger kids, that cell phones and social media are actually now becoming an addiction. There are kids and even adults out there that are actually now considered addicted, like medically addicted to social media and their cell phones.
That's the majority of people.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, everybody. I don't think anybody in this group could say they don't feel like a giant chunk of them is missing if they leave the house for even 20 minutes and you forget your phone on the bedside table. Yeah, you're just like, what the hell do I do with myself? I don't have my phone. I got to go back home.
I can tell you now, I couldn't live with Google Maps. I'm screwed.
Yeah.
It's wild now to just think that it's got to the point where medical people are calling it an actual addiction, that they've actually diagnosed it as people having severe addictions to the point where it's affecting their mental health, their physical health, more than just like, we can say, you know, we can't leave our house for 20 minutes without the phone. But it's wild to think that social media and your phones are now up there with drinking, smoking, and a handful of those other addictions.
I mean, there's that lawsuit out there on Facebook, right? I think it is, where that woman was basically a whistleblower and called them out for putting if they can get the sense through the algorithm of what someone's watching, that they'll start showing these kids videos about depression and the negatives and the downside, and to the point of where that kid kind of normalizes depression in their mind and they get absorbed into that world. I think it's Facebook, and there's a huge lawsuit out there. But that just kind of goes to show you the power they can harness from every little piece of data that they can pull from you based on what you're clicking on. They can see what you're ordering on Amazon through Facebook just because you accidentally clicked the link once and said, yeah, sure, Facebook, you can look at my Amazon info, you know?
Yeah.
It's just kind of crazy.
Have you seen how crazy it is, the stuff that the phone tracks?
Yeah.
So with the motion of the phone, they can tell if you're getting in or out of a car just by the motion of the phone. Like, that's bananas, man.
Well, and everything wants to know where you are, right? So Like our Nest cams, you can set them to basically record when you leave a certain distance from your house. Same thing with our Ring camera and our Ring alarm. Thermostats, you can set it to use your phone's GPS. So, Luke's going to be home in 5 minutes because of his routine, so we're going to crank the AC up for him. I mean, everything is connected to that device you carry in your pocket.
It's a little terrifying.
Well, I mean, who do you remember every phone number? I mean, when we were kids, you had to memorize phone numbers, right?
Yeah.
You had to be able to call mom from the friend's house. You couldn't just pull out your cell phone. And so I think that's part of the fear when people pull that, they leave their phone at their house and leave, and it's just like shock factor. Like, oh my God, what am I going to do?
But when they had, I think it was during the Boston Marathon bombing, whatever, and as soon as that happened, they shut down entire grids so that no phones work. Like, you know how scary that kind of power is in the wrong hands.
Well, they, what was it? A few months ago, some construction firm cut like the biggest fiber line up the East Coast. Joe, you probably remember that. And like major phone, I think it was Verizon and somebody, AT&T maybe, but they went down for like, I don't even know, like 12 to 14 hours, I think it was.
Never even heard of it. I have no idea.
Yeah, but I mean, the only reason I really knew about it was because it was the fiber that I guess serves our headquarters office in New York. So we couldn't connect to anything up in New York.
There you go. Early a half day that day.
Yeah, I don't remember what we did. Probably went and got beers or something.
We had a couple months ago. We had a big issue with Rogers out here. Every single Rogers customer's phone got cut off for like a day and a half, and people were losing their mind. Like there were people literally just panicking because the whole Rogers system went off for like 2 days.
Wow!
Like it was insane. Like the panic that ensued because one major network crashed. It was mind-boggling.
Yeah, I mean everything's interconnected today. If internet goes down, the world will just start shutting down. It's kind of crazy to see the technology we're putting in buildings that we design is all computer based and network based, and just the power of that whole system altogether.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to take us down a new stream, but that'll be a whole episode if we get into the whole AI conversation.
Yeah.
I feel like we have gone down a bit of a rabbit trail talking about technology.
I'm enjoying the conversation. I like talking about that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a thing that, right, either other dads have or wives have or partners have that maybe the dads don't know how to react, or, I mean, listen, that our kids will have or might have already. I mean, listen, I think social media is probably the number one. I would call it an issue, right? I personally would call it an issue out there.
Yeah.
I think it's caused, unfortunately, more harm than good, from what the intention was to reach out to your high school sweetheart from 1947 on Facebook that you found.
Yeah, remember Bob from
what Tom from MySpace maybe created, and that was his whole plan, and you could put up a little song. But I personally do. I think it's created more issues. Obviously, it could be used for the right reasons and right things to escalate, great businesses and connect with people from all over that we weren't able to. But
I mean, right?
Kids these days.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's obviously pluses because this group would not have occurred without giants like Facebook, right? But yeah, there's always a scary side behind the curtain to that sort of thing.
And we can always flip it back into if it's used in the right ways, and we go all the way back to the beginning and say, if you put it in the spectrum of a routine and a schedule, and you say, and then there's programs now you can do for your kids and yourself to clock, your phone gets 1 hour of internet time and then it shuts off or it locks itself out. You can schedule certain chunks. And even as you were saying, Nick, kind of earlier, now we've kind of evolved to, that's how a lot of us spend time in a weird way with our other halves. I don't know if it's quality time.
Yeah.
But as you were saying, I do it too at the end of the night. You sit there, you both watch videos together, scroll through some different things, and there can be ways to use it properly. There are many vices it's created and many problems it's created. But I guess it all comes down to using it in the right ways, keeping yourself mindful of when you're using it, how you're using it, and who you're using it with.
Yeah. So I think obviously we all agree that a cell phone can be a vice. So what other vices do you guys have that maybe you see as a problem? Or I guess you could have some vices that are good things as well.
Coffee.
Yeah, coffee gets me going, and that is one of my main routines in the morning. It's always hitting a coffee on the way to work.
One.
Yeah,
all the time.
People would not want to be around me at work if I didn't stop for some coffee.
I drink.
I can be very guilty about energy drinks. They're absolute poison, and I know that. But I actually have to make the physical, conscious decision a lot of the time not to drink them. They show up in my house with everyone else, or we'll be out, and I have to go, you know what? No, I have to actually think about it. That's how bad it gets sometimes.
So I found the good, healthy one that actually
better than me.
It's pretty good, Brian. It's called Aspire, Aspire. Now, again, I don't know if it's out by you, but Amazon does have it. I get it at BJ's, and there's an app that my wife uses. I forget the name of it, and you could scan things, and it'll tell you how healthy it is, the organics, if there's chemicals and hazardous things, and it gives a rating of up to 100, right? 100 being good, 0 being bad, and Monster and Red Bull's 0. And this is 73, which is better than certain things that we think are really healthy. So
yeah, you need to tell us that app.
Yeah, I'll get it one day. I forget. I forget what it's called, but it's definitely good. She scans it for everything now, especially with our son. She'll be like, "Oh no, this one has 14 hazardous chemicals that we've been eating this whole time, thinking it's good." And another one is so much healthier and better, and that we didn't know because the FDA here is we know what that could be. But yeah, caffeine. But that's a good energy drink, for to get a little bit. It's green tea stuff. So
I was gonna say, so I drank Red Bull religiously, especially when I was still playing in a band. That was my go-to. And for whatever reason, after my dad passed, I developed crazy anxiety to the point where I went to the doctor, got some meds to get some help with it. And a week after, I was because obviously caffeine is not good for anxiety in any measure, but Red Bull is definitely going to make it 10 times worse. And I would say within a week of going from Red Bull to just grabbing an iced coffee, my anxiety went from a 10 down to a 1. Just by, and my mother-in-law always gave me hell. Have you seen the articles on what that does to your organs? And I was always whatever. It keeps me alive and awake, blah.
Yeah.
But it was really crazy, just the mental transition I went to when I stopped drinking Red Bull, man. And to this day, if it's the only thing available, I still won't pick that stuff back up. It was kind of scary how much clearer I could think, how my anxiety level dropped when I stopped drinking that stuff. It was super crazy.
So I got an interesting one for you because you were kind of talking about anxiety and how caffeine affects it. And this could be a whole nother topic for the listeners out there. And we could probably do, a whole episode on it. But how do you feel, what's all of your guys' mindsets, I'll say, around the things like pot/marijuana?
I've always hated it.
Yeah,
it makes
I don't. I'm at the age now where I'm kind of cool, whatever, and most of the people I know that use it are super chill. But I've seen the side of it where not my family personally, but I've seen the side of it where it's wrecked families, where it's just that's all the person lives for, just smoking as much as they can, and And I know people say, oh, it's not addicting and it doesn't. I mean, there are plenty of people out there that will tell you that it has had major negative impacts on their family. And I've just never been a fan of it. I totally support like the medical advances with it and those kind of uses. But the whole like I can't drive down the street at all without smelling it coming out of somebody's window, which is still here in Virginia. That's still a DWI. You can't smoke it in your car and stuff like that. But
Washington State for 8 years, and I mean it's legal as they come there.
Yeah,
and I can't smoke the stuff; it just makes me pass out. But I broke both my feet two years ago, and the little edible things for painkillers and just sort of mellowing you out. It's really good. And I just have a little edible, and it's better than the pain pills. I promise you now.
See, I'm all for those uses for it. And my sister's in special education, works with autistic kids, and I've read some of the white papers on how it's helped kids like that, and I'm all for that. But when you start getting into the money, the business side of it, where they're just handing that stuff out like it's Pez, that's kind of
they're making like cookies that look like Oreos and right, and all that type of stuff. And
I mean, I think it has a place in the world, right? But it can also be used in the wrong ways and really have some negative consequences.
Just like anything, I think you're 100% right with the medicinal aspect of it. I think and there's so many benefits you could look back, but just like anything, if used wrong or in the wrong hands, right? Mm-hmm. Just like alcohol and social media and going back to all of that.
Yeah.
It's just it could be a thing. Like for me, I always viewed it as if I smoked it, I was going to become lazy, just because that's how I viewed it when I was like in high school. Like all the kids that like smoked or that I thought smoked, like they weren't playing sports and they were, smoking and lazy and not doing that. So like in my head, I was like, man, if I smoke it, I'm going to do nothing. Right. Yeah. So I can't do that.
Yeah. Everybody had that friend in high school that literally did nothing but smoke weed.
I was just a little bit naive and, doing that, maybe coming, growing up in a Christian family and that as well. I was, let's go grab another Monster. Why would I smoke weed when I could have energy and drink a Monster?
It could be bouncing off the walls. Why do I just want to sit on the sofa eating chips?
Exactly. So that was a little bit different. But I also had a weird thing. I love the smell of cigarette smoke.
Yes.
I love it. Not on people, but in the air. So I remember we'd be hanging out like friends, like high school, and people would be like smoking and they would blow it in your face and they'd be, oh, so sorry. I'm like, no, it's fine. And I'd
I love secondhand smoke.
To them, what's that, Luke?
Did you never smoke?
I've never had a cigarette in my entire life because I
think
felt that I had an addictive personality, and because I liked the smell so much, I was always afraid if I tried it, I would like it. So to this day, I'm 34 years old and I've never had a cigarette in my mouth.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we're talking about vices, that's... Oh, go ahead, Luke. Sorry.
No, I was saying it's more amazing that you love the smell of it, because most people who don't smoke just hate the smell. Yeah. And I smoked for about 20-something years, and most ex-smokers hate that smell. But I'll never smoke again. But when I smell it, I'm like, yeah.
My mother said that she smoked for years, and she's like, my deathbed, give me a cigarette. I don't care. Just let me go.
Yeah.
You know what? It's funny. I tried it when I was younger. I never enjoyed it. My friends smoked, and I always hated the smell. It's like cigarette smoke, can't stand it. It's gross. And I really it's one of those smells that I really actually despise. But on the flip side, I will admit I like the smell of pot. Like if other people are smoking it, that's a smell I like.
No, yeah. See, I'm not a fan of that smell.
Yeah, it's ditto. I was gonna say smoking is definitely my vice. I think I've tried just about. I've tried cold turkey. I've tried the patch. Huh?
Are you a smoker?
Yeah.
Huh.
So I've tried the patch. I've tried. Currently, I'm on the product placement, the nicotine lozenges.
Got the book?
And these work. Like, I mean, when I take those, I don't have a craving. But yeah, none of that crap really seems to work for me. I'll do really good for a couple weeks, a month, and then I'll go back to it. The only thing I haven't tried is like a Chantix like prescription product.
Have you tried the book?
No, it's funny. I actually have that book on my bookshelf. I
Really?
think one of my
There's a book called The Book.
It's called The Easy Way to Quit Smoking or something.
Oh, okay.
yeah
80% of the people that read the book, and it tells you to smoke throughout the book, but by the time you finish the book, you will not smoke again.
maybe I should read that. It's funny you
I
ask
kind of want to
because
read it now, and start smoking.
I'll read it and I'll mail it to you afterwards. You can check
read
it
it.
out.
I read it
You can,
two times or three times, and I quit. So
Damn.
it didn't work the first time, but second or third time, it was so weird. I just finished the book and I just didn't want to smoke anymore. I've never
Yeah.
cracked since.
I think it was
you could try the newest trend. Nick, have you ever tried some hypnotherapy?
no, but every damn time I put it on like the local country station, there's forever an ad about a local seminar, like $50 quit smoking or $50 lose weight. And
It's
I'm like, no, I'm not going.
Come get
Okay.
hypnotized.
worked for 3 months.
Yeah. No, maybe I'll read that book though. It's pretty funny you mentioned it.
I think you should read the book, and then
I'll read the book for the group. I will be the
Yeah.
guinea pig.
And if it doesn't work, read it 2 more times.
Read it
after.
again. Okay. I'll make it part of my morning routine to read out of the book because I
And
need
send-
some
send me
routine
the
work
book,
too.
Nick, send me the book after with a
Yeah.
pack of cigarettes.
And
I'm
you
gonna
tell
do
me
that right now.
you're gonna smoke while you read and then quit.
That's it. I gotta pick it up. Man. This is disgusting.
You're not gonna smoke. You're just gonna light it in the corner of the room so it wafts towards you.
I might
Smoke
drive
the
straight
house.
to Virginia just so you smoke out the window, and I'll
Yeah,
sit.
you're like I just want to smell it while you're. Oh God.
Well, gentlemen, I do have to interject here, and I do have to go stick to my routine and make time for my wife. It is Survivor time for us. It's been great chatting with y'all, but I got to go jump to my Vice and
Well,
go watch
fine
some
then.
Survivor.
It's cold hot. Cold-hearted.
Cool, man. Thanks for joining us.
Survivor calls.
Yeah,
All right.
had a good
Yeah.
time.
Survivor. There we go.
Enjoy it.
We'll see ya.